So menstrual cycle and your training. So I'm going to talk about effects from your menstrual cycle on your training and what considerations we need to take to kind of negate them, still maximise your workouts without having too many negative kind of effects from it. So here we go. So the effects on your training. So naturally, during your period or certain times in your cycle, you'll feel a decreased sense of balance. You're more likely to trip, fall, stumble. You'll also see a decrease in your stabilities. You're like being able to stabilise your body in certain positions with certain external pieces of kit like dumbbells, barbells, stuff like that. You'll have lower energy, which is a big kind of thing we have to think about. Similar with the diet, sometimes people just they try and push through, stay low calorie, even if it's not working. That's not the right kind of approach, because you end up, you're fighting a losing battle. So if you have lower energy, kind of the last thing you want to do is just push through. So we need to take that into consideration with how we train. You'll see a decrease in your strength. So this lady in the picture looks more like she's in pain rather than lower strength, but it's the best picture I can find. But a decrease in your strength does not mean you're not doing well with your sessions. It is a physiological effect from the menstrual cycle, and it's something we have to work with rather than try and fight against. So avoid high intensity exercises. So your body's going through a time of stress, and the last thing you want to do is add more stress on top by sprinting, jumping, doing all these crazy intense exercises. It's going to stress your body out more and inevitably leave you feeling worse off afterwards. So what can we do? What considerations do we need to take with your training around your menstrual cycle? So first of all, everyone's menstrual cycle is different, and what I might say may vary from person to person, so don't take what I say as kind of exactly it is the truth, but it will vary person to person. And certain parts of your cycle you'll feel better or worse compared to what I say, or maybe slightly earlier. So choose more stable exercises. Like I say, if your balance is lower than usual, the last thing you want to be doing is choosing lunges, split squats, single arm exercises where it's going to really challenge your balance. What we want to do is go for more stable exercises. So the picture here is a lady doing a split squat compared to a lady doing a regular squat. So obviously you're more balanced in a regular squat position. You're still working the same muscles in a slightly different way, but very, very closely. But you're more stable. It gives you more stability, more balance, and therefore you'll get a better workout because you're not concerned about, am I going to fall over, am I wobbly? So choose more stable exercises. And prioritise stability over kind of, not fanciness, but instead of doing like a barbell squat like the picture shows, you could do a leg press. Again, it's a very similar set of muscles worked. The leg press was built to mimic the back squat, but you're sat in a position, your core doesn't have to engage to keep you stable and secure. With a barbell back squat, a lot of your muscles and joints have to be really kind of fired up and really ready to go to make it very efficient and safe. In a leg press, you require less muscles, but you can push the same amount of weight and in a safer position. So choosing machines over free weights, or even choosing barbells over dumbbells. So if you look at the types of exercise videos that we've done, dumbbells are low in stability, then barbells, then machines. So you can go through that spectrum and choose the correct exercise to suit you on certain parts of your cycle. So think about that. Obviously, when you're feeling great in your cycle, you can do barbell squats. And we'll talk about that in a minute. You can go for heavy weights and stuff at certain points of your cycle. But when you're not feeling fantastic in the second part of your cycle, usually you don't want to be going for those harder exercises, those higher weights, those more intense things. So it's just about learning your body and having the understanding of when to put these things into place. So we've got lower energy, so we can accommodate that by reducing your training frequency. So if you train 3 times a week, we might just go down to 2 times a week. Or if you want to continue doing 3 times a week because it fits your routine perfectly, we can just reduce the session time every time you go to the gym. So spreading that energy that you have, if it's a reduced amount, we just spread it across either less sessions or less time in the gym. That way we get better quality of workout rather than more workouts at a lower quality. If that makes sense. So use your energy to the best of your ability. And avoid aiming for PBs. All those points we've just said above, you're less stable, you're less balanced, you're less energetic, you feel less strong. The last thing we want to be doing is putting a heavy barbell on your back and saying do as much weight as possible. The risk versus reward, generally most of the time, even when you're feeling great, to do a 1 rep max or go for a PB is not necessary for most people like yourselves. So to do it when you're not feeling great and all these things are kind of against you is a silly thing to aim for. So we don't need to aim for personal bests, especially in the second part of your cycle. We can maybe aim that around the beginning of your ovulation, because your estrogen's high, your luteinizing hormone's high, and you're a bit more testosterone. That's when you feel strong, that's when you feel confident, that's when we can kind of aim those bigger challenges around that time. But when you're in the second part of your cycle, avoid aiming for PBs, because it's not, your body's not set up perfectly for that, and your risk of injury is just going to increase. And choose LISS over HIT. So LISS stands for low intensity steady state, and HIT stands for high intensity interval training. So instead of doing crazy gym classes, going for a run, things like CrossFit, aim for things like yoga, going for a walk, swimming, things like this where it's lower intensity on your body. It's still cardio, or you're being active, but it's not overly stressful. So exercise is a form of stress on the body. Stress is both good and bad depending on where it comes from, but generally stress is stress. So if your body's stressed from going through your period or leading into your period, the last thing you want to do is add more stress on by doing high intensity training, tiring the body out, forcing it to work harder when it's low on energy, forcing it to lift heavier weights when it's feeling weaker. We don't want to overload the body with too much stress. That can make you feel worse overall. So choose LISS exercise over HIT. You can still do the same exercises, but just lower that intensity. Or you can swap the exercise completely and go from a run to a walk, or go from a like fit pumps type intense gym class to like a stretchy yoga type class. You're still moving, you're still being active, but it's a lot less stressful on your body. Cool, and that's the main points around menstrual cycle and training. And again, those things I mentioned there, they can be dropped in and out when it suits you and your personal cycle. Every cycle is different, and you know your body better than anyone. So use this information to suit you. Don't assume that everyone is the same, and what I say has to be at that point in time. So when you feel tired, weak, and you know that happens monthly, then you can kind of chop and change your training to suit that feeling. So hopefully that's all good, and I'll see you in the next video.